Hi everyone, thanks again for joining us. Tonight we're going to be talking about episode 5 of season 5, Kill the Boy. And tonight we have a very special guest joining us, Aaron. In place of Vince. Vince had Mother's Day things to go to. Man, she should have killed that boy. Oh. Alright.
There's mostly focused on the North in this episode. We also got to see Daenerys, and
I like seeing a lot more of Daenerys because, like, she's one of my favorite characters, and I'm like, oh man, she's so cool, but like, she just kind of seems to be having a bad day, like lately. Like, all since the beginning of this season, she's just been like, well, can't really control the city, can't control my dragons.
Yeah, being a queen is hard.
Yeah, it is kind of cool though, because it really is her most powerful. We've seen her since the beginning of the show. You'd think, you know, and you think, oh, she's so powerful now. And in some ways, it's her most, like you were saying, her most troubling season yet. I felt like this episode, not a lot happened in terms of plot, but this was a very, very character exposition episode.
Yeah.
Basically, like, these are what everyone is doing, why people are doing things. If you want to know why people are doing things, watch this episode and you'll figure it out.
Yeah, but you could probably skip this episode and move on to the next one without having missed anything.
Yeah.
The show is very character-driven in the first place, so I think that's okay, because I think most people like all the characters involved, so we like hearing about what's going on.
And we did get to kind of understand a couple characters, maybe a little better, but also I think moving forward, we're gonna, like, I also felt like this episode was kind of a breach from the safe. It felt like the last couple episodes have been kind of safe episodes.
Yeah.
And kind of the journey, like, okay, we're gonna, and it's no longer gonna be as safe as it's been. I mean, we see Stannis finally kind of leaving Winterfell, for him going to battle, but then also for Jon and kind of him going on this new trek.
Yeah.
With Sansa and Littlefinger no longer there, she's now kind of in a world that she's, you know, can't control, and just that whole dinner scene was pretty...
Yeah, that was kind of awkward. It felt.
Yeah.
It's like they really did a good job, like, of making us feel the tension in that scene, and it was kind of cool too because I mean, you just gotta like see an interaction between Theon and like Sansa and all that stuff. I thought it was interesting how he didn't reveal that he didn't really kill Bran and Rickon.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that could be his conditioning or something, or maybe he just wants to keep that a secret, because I thought with his conditioning, maybe he would tell Sansa, oh wait, I didn't really do this, or something, so that's kind of a secret, I guess, they're kind of keeping it in their pocket for some later point in time. Kind
of in that scene, but in the following scene, just really see how bad Roose is. Because it's easy to kind of maybe be fooled by him, and like, oh, he puts on a good show, and he's all about, like, keeping up the face, and we have to be lords, and on... But, like, just the story of, like, you see how awful he is, in a lot of ways, and manipulative, worse than Ramsay is.
Yeah, it's like they're two sides of the same coin. They're both just as awful, but one is more, like, erratic and unpredictable. The other one is more calculating, and, like, so I don't know which one you fear more, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
It's like one's just crazy, and one's just cruel.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, they really have actually done a good job of turning them into a bad guy that we could like. I think it was real easy, you know, after Joffrey died, and like, man, who are we gonna hate anymore? You know, like, like the Boltons really have kind of just taken that and ran with it. Like, they're
you know, guys, don't worry, you can hate us.
Right. And like, I mean, Cersei, who didn't see this episode, but we always are gonna kind of hate her. But now it's almost taken on more of like a pity.
Yeah. What is she doing now?
Come on, Cersei, you're better than that. Yeah, she seems to be struggling for power very, very much in King's Landing now, and it's weird because you're like, well, you were kind of that hard, terrible person for such a long time, and now we're just like, alright, whatever.
What else happened in this episode?
Well, they decided to remind us about the Dragon Glass thing all over again.
They kind of have these things that they constantly are kind of bringing up every once in a while. I don't know if it's just as much to like, hey, remember this still thing, don't forget it, or if it means that this is going to be relevant coming up. Hopefully that means it's going to be relevant. That'd be cool. Maybe with Jon going off on adventure, he's going to come some White Walkers coming up. But I also kind of like how they had the story beats of the grayscale, how you have something as distant as the Wall having relevance, because they're basically explaining stuff for Tyrion's story. So that was kind of cool too. I'd say half the episode it seemed like was pretty much at the Wall itself.
Yeah, with making Jon's plans for what he's going to do, what Stannis' plans are, and maybe what Sansa's plans are going to be.
Sam's just reading stuff.
Yeah, he's just reading
Get ready
stuff.
for a lot of
I mean,
reading.
I do like the cool interactions when like Stannis comes walking in, and
Yeah.
and again, it's just like going back to like character, like. What is the point of this car? I don't know, but hey, remember Sam has a dad, and he knew Stannis. And then the big decision too is like, what did you think of Jon's? Like, I don't know. That's a kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, to like let the free.
I mean, it
vote
is
or
kind of
whatever.
like silly. Like we spent 4 seasons building up like how much you have to kill these wildlings and how much he's like. Yeah, let's just let him
like,
through.
it doesn't quite make sense because you're like, wait a minute, they basically have just been raping and pillaging all the peaceful villages. Like, you're telling me if we just had shaken hands and said peace, you would have let them do that?
Yeah.
like now they're gonna be given free reign to do whatever they want. Like,
I think his logic makes sense. Like, oh well, I don't want to give like the White Walker army
Yeah.
more bodies.
yeah,
But
Yeah, it makes sense, but it's just one of those things. Again, it's just like, yeah, it's the right thing, Jon Snow, but yeah. And it is funny too. He's like, I've fought my whole life, or when he was talking to the kid, and he's like, I've seen my family, had to leave my family and stuff, and then. Him doing the right thing, though, is even more reminding him how much of a Stark he actually is, right? Because that's something that Eddard would do. He would, realize the greater good and something that is going to be helpful to the realm. It isn't a petty, we got to get revenge on them for, destroying the village. So as much as he's abandoned, his family is no longer there, he is still the perfect embodiment of the Stark. And winter's coming, like he said it this episode. He actually said it.
Yeah.
Jon Snow finally said it.
Yeah.
Winter's coming.
Hey, Ryan, what's the viewer response question?
Okay, everybody, get ready for this week's viewer response question. Who is more in love with Sansa, Petyr or Brienne? Leave your answers in the comments below. That was inappropriate. That insinuates abortion or something. I don't know.